Hey there, welcome back to the table. So we have the game set up. There's a final step. We need to choose our endgame scoring bonus, and we also need to choose our contracts. And I decided to wait until we started playing because these are just important decisions that I wanted to include at this stage. So, one thing to understand with the endgame cards. So, as I explained in the last video, we're going to choose one and then pass the other to the player to our left. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's so player one is here, player four is up here, and we're just going in clockwise order. Um, okay, so and if you're wondering, it's determined here. So uh, we're gonna choose one, but that doesn't mean we're gonna keep it, because then we're gonna receive the one that's passed to us, and then we're going to choose from those. And so at the end of the day, we're only gonna have one card. That one card is going to be our endgame goal. It's a secret. Now, obviously, I'm playing schizophrenically here, so one of the things that's going to be broken in this playthrough is I'm going to know the goals of all four. I mean, I could do some kind of weird nonsense where I don't look at their cards or whatever. I don't want to do that because you got to know the goal of your game here that you've chosen to do because it is going to dictate how you play. Um, it's that's one of the things I like about this game is there's different ways to play it. Um, so let's just dive in and we'll look at our cards here for player one. And so here's what this means. So this says that every share um, is going to pay $3 to the player. That symbol there means player. So basically, you're going to get $3 for each share. And if you ever wonder what they mean, you can just come over here and look at this. And here it is. At the end of the game, you get $3 per share from the bank for each share the player owns. Only if it paid dividends in the final round. That's a very important clarification. I didn't even remember that. Um, Now, it's possible that a company may not pay dividends in the final round, and if that's the case, then you don't get the points. And then what this one's saying is that you're going to get money equal to the number of EU tokens you have. And I think there's a cap on that. I want to say it's 5. It's these ones up here. Receive money from the bank. So if you have one flag, two flags, they're $2 each. Three or more flags, they're $3 each. So you're getting money for every flag you have. So actually, I misinterpreted that. So if you have 3 of these flags, they're going to be worth $3 each. I'm sorry, if you have 5 of those flags, they're going to be worth $3 each. And part of the reason why it ties to your clipboard here, there's only 3 spots for them. And if you accumulate more than the 3, you just pile them up somewhere. And if you have this card, you're going gung ho on the EU contracts. That's what you're doing with this. This one is a diversity one. I mean, you could buy all of your own shares, or you could buy somebody else's shares. There's a lot of things you can do here. Um, I honestly don't know which of the two I prefer. I would say let's keep the EU one. I think this one is okay, but the drawback with this one is um, it's possible that companies will not pay dividends at the end because some players don't care, and so that's a dangerous card. So I'm going to pass that over. All right. So not knowing that this one's coming to us, we look at this, and I can tell you with certainty, I always choose this one. Now you could say this one looks very similar, and that's because it is. Is it really this? Oh, these are flags. So it's $2 for each flag. Ooh, interesting on that one. Per flag from the bank for each flag on their clipboard. So what that means is, so these flags are going to be capped at 3. So you're going to get at most $6, $6, $6, $6. That's all. You got to always look at that sheet. Without this, you're sort of screwed because these cards, the iconography don't tell you everything, and that is a little disappointing. Now remember, I don't know that I'm getting this card, so I'm choosing between these two. I always choose this one. Now, what does this one say? This says that for every cruise ship token I have, I'm going to get $5, which is pretty good. So we're going to pass this one along. And then, of course, they have that one. And then here's the two that they have. Now, this is an interesting one. This one is the value of the cruise ship goes to the player. And you can see all this here. So here, the player receives $5 from the bank for each passenger token. At the end of the game, the player receives money from the bank equal to the sum of the values of the passenger tokens. And the passenger tokens start with a 5 and then they drop off. In fact, this is not. I would swear that said a 3. It did. I don't know what's going on. But basically, you got your 3s, you got your 2s, and there's even a 1. So I don't know why it got sucked in. Like when I put this on top of there, it disappeared. But basically, this is the top of the stack. And arguably speaking, you could take any of these, but there's no reason not to take the highest number every time. So, anyways, now that creates an interesting dilemma because, uh, honestly speaking, if you could get this card and this one and have them together, it's a super powerful combination. And if I were playing this player, I would be very tempted to take this one. And in fact, I would. So I'm going to pass this card. Remember, I'm trying to play this blindly, without knowing that somebody else took the other card. I'm going to be hopeful that, hey, maybe I'll get that other card. Right? And so then we come over to these two. So this is the same thing as the EU one and the China one, where you're going to get up to $3 for each token. Or this one here. Now what this is saying is that the company money is that any company money that's left over in the company that you own shares. No, that's not it. That's not it. Hold on. That one is, yeah, if the player's company paid dividends in the final round, the player takes all the remaining money from their company and adds it to his personal. So basically, you could pay yourself. So that's what the yellow player. If the yellow company has $30 in their account and they were able to pay their dividends in the final round, then they get to keep all the money. And I'll be honest, that is a super powerful one. So then they're going to pass this one over to the red player. Okay, so now we got the situation where everybody has to now choose which one are you going to keep. So I'm either doing US West or EU. Now the thing that's going to come into play here is I'm the red player and I'm starting the game going this way. And if I go this way, this is US East and EU. So I have a better shot at getting EU tokens than I do US West. So that's why I'm going to not choose this card. Alright, so I choose this. I'm going to leave it face up because I don't have good memory. Those games where you have to remember what everybody else is doing, it just drives me nuts. Between here, the cruise ships are going to win. Between here, the cruise ships are going to win. And then the company stock is going to win. Alright, so now that we've done this, we're going to now set the personalities. So this player is going to clearly go for the flags. There's not a lot of personality I need to set there. How are they going to play? I mean, every player has to play similarly, but they're going to be gunning for flags for points. Now, there are some extra things like when you buy shares of stock, you can buy your own shares or you can buy somebody else's shares. That's an interesting dilemma. And I don't know if I have an opinion yet on that. I will tell you that buying someone else's shares is an interesting thing because you give a lot of money to another player's company, but then that player's company has to pay you dividends. But if you don't buy your own shares of stock, then you're not going to have enough money in your own company to pay off the dividends. It could get a little wonky, but there is no reason you can't buy other people's shares. So just keep that in mind. But anyways, right now, this is going to be a simple game for red. This one is going to be all about cruise ships. So we're going to have to manage that. Same with this one. Now, these players don't know that the other one has the card. And that's just how the game goes. It's sometimes possible to get both these cards, like I said. Now, at the very end of the game, uh, remember you get more of these cards every time you deliver a three ship, which is this guy right here. So if you deliver a three cargo ship from one end to the other of Panama Canal, you gain one of these cards. So you literally get to look through the entire deck and just pick one. So it's you could really tailor your strategy. It's not this random thing where I draw the top two cards and I'm stuck with some end game scoring that doesn't benefit me. You get to go through the entire deck, and that's what this guy and this guy are hoping for, is that they're going to get to go through that deck and get the other cruise ship one. But it's how the cookie crumbles. And I'm playing them both the way I would have played them, and that's exactly what I would have done. And you could argue, well, maybe that's a reason not to play that way, and that's true. I don't always win every time. um, this one is the one I would think is the weakest, but I still think you can win. Um, it's just that it's very singularly focused, which could be problematic, but we'll get there. Okay, so you can accumulate more of these cards as you go, and let's say I had three of them. At the end of the game, you only get to pick two that's actually going to score. So you can start hoarding these cards as much as you like, but only two of them are going to score. There's no such thing as a player grabbing five of these, and therefore they just win the game because by virtue of having more cards than everybody else. Doesn't quite work that way. But obviously, if somebody takes the effort to get the second card and somebody else does not, then yeah, they're going to get two scoring opportunities and you're only going to get one. This one can be bonkers. You could win your game with just this card alone, but things need to go your way, and you got to be really good at running your company. So we'll get into that. Okay, the next thing that happens is we have to draw a number of players plus one, which is five. I wish the table was a little bigger. But basically, we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'll just put another one next to it, 5. So in reverse player order, starting with the yellow company, they get to pick any of these contracts and they get to fill it, meaning that they get to take dice for these things and these goals, and they get to load it on ships and do whatever they want to do. Now, yellow is going this direction, which means they're very likely going to be going this way soon. So they want to get something that's west or China, because that's going to be a ship that's going to want to go the same direction as the rest of their ships. So looking on here, there's two China options and a west option. They all look fantastic. This is worth $8. That's worth $8. This is only worth 6. So I think, for lack of anything, they're just going to take the China one, and so this will be their contract. And then what you do is you take yellow takes 2 dice, and we set this one to 5, and the other one to 3. And what happens is these go onto the contract like so. But and just to show you from a rules perspective, this is all part of the setup here. Is each player chooses a contract, take the dice of your color equal to the number of containers depicted, and immediately load your dice on the available ships. You can use your 2 dot and build additional ships as desired. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, the build additional ships comment means that you can spend this $18 to build this ship for 5 or this ship for 7. So you can spend some of your company money to build a ship. But let's talk about loading ship rules here. The way this works is this ship will not take off unless it has 5 to 11 pips worth of goods. So if I put this on here, that's enough for the ship to launch. Obviously that'll sort of work as well, but I'll explain some additional rules here. But an 8 on here would have worked as well. This die would have guaranteed that the ship can't take off yet. It needs more die, another die, and that other die has to be put it over 5. So if you had a 1 or a 2, you couldn't put that here. Well, a 2 you could, but you know what I mean. So so you gotta have the boat in that range, and you can't put 2 6s on here either. So the restriction doesn't come into effect until the second die. So basically, you could put the first die on willy nilly, and then force whoever the player is for the second die to follow the rules. Now, one thing I want to look up here is because I always forget. So the 1 and the 2 pips, those are considered to be passengers sometimes, but I think you can load them uh, as cargo as well. But a passenger is considered a 1 or a 2, so these two would stink. Neither of those are passenger dice. In fact, that 2 there would be, and so would that one. Okay, so getting back to this. When you're loading from a contract, each die has to go into a different ship. I'm not allowed to load both of these dice onto this ship. Now, I'm choosing to do China. So what's going to happen here is this ship is going to go here in the waiting zone, and I'm technically putting it here in the loading zone for China. So I can take, for example, my 3 and put it on this ship like so, which means it's not enough to take off. And then I can take this 5 and I can load it on the San Juan Prospector. Now, the San Juan Prospector needs to have 9 to 18, and the money payout is double. So I'll get $10 for this ship delivering that 5 pip good. Now, by doing this, they are still both in the loading zone for China. Once they have enough, they can go here. Oh, I'm sorry, it's the other way around. When this ship returns, after we do all the stuff that happens when it returns, the ship will be here, which means it could be either West or China. And then whenever you're loading the ship, you get to grab it and choose which one it's going to be. Now, the other thing is, to make sure you really understand, you are allowed to load your cargo on other players' ships, and they can't stop you. This is not, hey, it's my ship, only my cargo goes on my ship. That's not how this works. So these ships are sitting here partially loaded, both of them. And if somebody else comes along and loads a die on these, they can then launch those ships. Okay? So just understand that. Now, by fulfilling this contract, they get a China marker. So we grab one of these, and right here you can see it goes on their player or their company board, and it's covering up a stock symbol. So now what that means is he's allowed to buy 1 share of someone's stock. Now this guy, he wants to take the company money of his company. I know it shows all 4 colors here, but it's his company only. So he's going to spend the $6 to buy his own company stock. Because he wants his company to have as much money as possible. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? So his $6 goes to the company. And then you come over here, and it's saying that when you buy the company stock, it goes up by 1. So now it's worth $7 a share. The next time somebody wants to buy a share of the yellow company stock. Okay, so that's what he did, and yeah, I'm going to do something like this so we can see how many he has. Alright, so that's his turn. So now we go to the black company, and they have to pick one. And you can see here they want to do cruise ships. So they're looking at the situation. There's no cruise ship in China. However, the EU, I think, does have one. They do. Lucky Me Cruises. So see here how it says 1 or 2. So they're going to take the EU contract, which gives them a 5 and a 2. And you may already figured this out, but the next player is getting screwed a little bit on the cruise ship stuff. And then this is also a very strong indicator to the green player. Oh gosh, he probably has the other cruise card, because that's the only reason why you get so aggressive about doing this. But anyways, they will take their ship and they will put it here in the EU along with the 5 pipper. So their ship is ready to take off. Now, I didn't even pay attention, but as you can see, they're going to finish going this way. And so this was really good synergy. So when this ship arrives here, it'll be able to group up with these ships to go through. and we'll get into more later, like why that's important. Then this, like I said, it's a cruise ship one, so we can put that there and make sure it still says 2. Now this cruise ship cannot take off yet because see how it's black? It needs at least 2 dice on it before it can take off. All right, so they got that loaded. They get an EU token. So we'll go ahead and discard this one and give them an EU token, which is also a company share. And we need to pay attention to these bonuses because some tokens don't give you anything the first time, but not until the second or third. But right now, this is not a big deal. So they're going to go ahead and spend $6, and yeah, let's like dink around, right, and screw with other people. So he's going to buy a red share. So now the red company gets $6, and then the red company stock goes up. Now what's going to happen here is everybody starts the game with $6. Well, it just so happens if somebody buys my red company stock, well, I'm going to end up buying theirs because I only have $6 and I can't even afford my own company stock. So, anyways, that's sort of how that will play out. So now we get to green, and green wanted to do cruise stuff, but if you're looking at the situation, China doesn't have a cruise ship, and green is going this direction. They're sort of in the middle, so it doesn't matter which one they take. So now we're looking at it, and this is just the most value. This is $8. So they're going to take US West, and we'll set it to 4 and 4. Take these, put it out, and they got the same dilemma, right? So US West is here, I believe. Yes. So one of the 4s is going to go in their ship, which is not enough to take off. And then the other 4, oh, that's a cruise ship. They can't even put another one there. So now they got a choice. They can leave this here, or they're going to spend the $5 to buy another ship, and now this one's ready to take off. Like so. And then that's going to give them a US West token, which will then go here, and now you're seeing how nothing actually happened for them. But if they get to buy a share, obviously they need to give some money back to their green company here. And then this is gone. And then it gets back to, I don't know, I'm calling this us, the red player. So we want EU tokens, so we want to take this by default. Now, if you look at where we're at, we're way back here, but we are heading towards the EU, although we're very far away. Arguably speaking, the China one would have been maybe better. I think I had a choice between the two, didn't I? I think it was US West. I don't think it was China. I could be wrong. I mean, this is technically worth more money. And we're committed now. We're doing EU, so it doesn't matter. So we're going to go ahead and do 3. And as with all the other players, we're doing that. And yes, we're going to take the 4, load it on our ship, which is not enough to take off. And then we have a 3 that we can put out here. And I'm looking at the situation, and I can put it on the black ship instead of having to buy my own ship. I'm going to put it on the black ship, and now this ship has the $8 it needs to take off. Okay, so that is done, and then we get an EU token, which is the big thing that we were hoping for. And that EU token doesn't get us any bonus at this time. Alright, so these cards are out of the game. These are just starter cards, so we can just do that. Okay, and of course it came back up. We'll just put it up here in the top left corner. Okay, so those are out of the game. Now we're actually ready to start. All that's considered to be part of the setup, and my apologies, I know some folks want to just see the gameplay right away, but to me, this is where the decision making happens, and I just felt that that should be included as part of the gameplay. All right, first player's first, which is the red player. They're here. They got a ship that needs to go this way. They got other ships that need to go that way. So red players actually got the worst situation. But they do get to choose their die. And so let's talk about the action dice and how this works. First things first is that when you choose an action die, there's 4 executive dice along the top. They have their own special rules. We'll talk about those in a second. But all the other dice that are down below are just regular action dice. Whichever dice you choose, you get the action that's affiliated with it. So on the left side here, these are movement dice. So, for example, if I take any dice in the 1 column, I get 1 channel movement, and I get 1 lake movement. This one's worth 2 lake movement, and this one's worth 3 lake movement. Now, what is lake movement? You can see the symbol. This is in the lake, so that symbol is needed to move into here. But to move out of this, I need a channel symbol. So if I take a 1, I'm going to get 1 channel move, which would move me from here to there. And see, this needs a lake move to get out to the lake. Then you need a lake move, and then channel, 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 and then you're done. So the amount of channel movement is determined by the number. The amount of lake movement is determined by where it is, which row. Now, the first player has to always choose the bottom die. Everybody does, actually. So if the first player, let's say they wanted this one, they have to choose that one. Then the next player has to choose that one, and then the next player has to choose that one. So you can't just come in and cherry pick the best die at the top. Now you can in this situation. This die is at the top because there's no dice below it, so you could go straight for it. Okay, so that's rule number 1. And I know this says a 5, but I believe that was a 3. All right. And this one was a 1, but it moved over. The actual number written on these don't matter anymore. It's just that they were placed in the proper column. And the reason this one's here is because we rolled 4 of them, and then it spilled over. It spilled over this way. Okay. Next up. These actions over here. So if you take these dice over here on the right, you get to do 2 things. Number 1, this symbol says you get to take that contract. And then this here shows how many boatload actions you get to do. So this here says you get to load 1 die onto a boat. This one says you can load 2. So if you took a die here and you had this contract, you can load both of those dice all in 1 action. Now, if you take this card and use this one, yeah, you can only load 1 die. The other die will just sit on the card until you get another action that lets you load again. And then when you load boats, you can load from any contract card. It doesn't have to be the one you just chose. So if you have a die that's left over because you took this one and you take this one later, you can always just load this card and not the next one you get or whatever. Alright, so that's one of the key things about this particular action. So this would let you do 3 boatloads. If you take this particular contract, you're only going to have 2 to do. So it doesn't really help you as much to get 3 boatloads. You're allowed to have 2 contracts that have not been loaded onto a boat by the end of your turn. So you cannot take a 3rd contract unless you've at least unloaded one of those or loaded one of those contracts so that they're gone. Now, just like we demonstrated with the starter contract, if you load both of these, the 4 and the 1, you get a US East token. And you saw how that token goes onto your company board, and you get some little cash and prizes. You always have the option of flipping it and just loading a 3. Now this is showing that you can load a 3 on a boat or on a train. Now this could be helpful if you're only doing a 1 load, because maybe you don't care about US East, like you don't need another US East token. Or US East requires you to load your boat, sorry, it's over here, And US East has a battleship and a cruise ship. That's all they have. So if I'm red, I want to load a boat here in the EU, right? I can't because this is a US East token. However, if I flip this over, now it's a generic 3. So now I can load a 3 right here on this boat. And it's part of the EU. I don't get any tokens for that, but that's what the generic load allows you to do. Now, the other thing you can do is it's got a picture of a train. So I can take one of my 3s from my warehouse here and load it here into one of these 4 spots. Now, the train does several things. The first thing, at the end of the round, all 4 of these dice are moved to here and sorted in the order of highest to lowest, and that determines the new turn order. So, whoever that is, it determines the new turn order. And then they go, they go here, and then they go here for a turn order, and then they go here, and then what you do is you sum up all the pips. So the value of the dice added together. So if you happen to have 2 of your own color dice here, it doesn't matter for turn order, but it does matter for this. Whoever has the highest value dice gets to choose one of these 4 tokens. So you could do a generic action and still get one of these tokens. And then it's just, the 4 dice that are here, they go in order, and whoever has the highest value gets their first pick, and then only the 3 remain, and then the second guy picks, and then the last guy has to choose between those 2. So like in our case, the red player, we really want this one. We could take a US East card that we don't want, flip it over, just generically load it as a train. It helps us with turn order, and also, if we're the first player to get to choose here, we could take our US East or our EU token anyways, all from a US East contract. So there's multiple ways to get tokens, although it's not guaranteed. You gotta, whoever's highest pip value goes first. Now all 3 of these are exactly the same. Take a contract, and then you have 1, 2, and 3 loads. Okay, now let's talk about the executive dice. So the executive dice use these actions at the top. You will see that these same 2 actions here apply to the executive. So this 3 here would still get you 3 channel, and it counts as the top value here, so you would get 3 and 3. If it was a 1, if this was here, you would get 1 and 3. Okay, 2 and 3. Because it's always considered the top row when you're doing this. That's what these 2 symbols mean. So you can use this as more movement actions. In addition to that, though, instead of moving ships, you can buy a share of stock, or you can take any stock and raise it $2 to make your company worth more money. And that's going to mean it's going to pay higher dividends. Okay, over here, same principle. This lets me take the contract and do 3 loads. Regardless, and by the way, you can take this die even if all these dice are still here. The executive dice are sort of like first come, first serve for them. And then the same deal, you can do this. Now you might be thinking, boy, a huge flaw of this game is maybe I don't want to move dice, maybe I need contracts. Well, that's where this comes in. So you see this little $5? If I pick this die here, which is one of the weakest ones in the game, right? And I'm understanding why it's changing value because I'm shaking it. This 1 is going to be 1 channel movement and 1 boat movement or lake movement. So maybe I don't want that, right? I can pay $5 to move this over to any of these. And I believe, does it have to retain the same row? Oh, forgive me. Let me look this up real quick instead of making you wait here. Okay, I was correct. So here's the section that explains what happens. And basically what it's saying is you choose the lowest die of whatever die you're choosing, right? You always choose the lowest one. So let's say I'm choosing this one. And then I want to move it to this column because there's no dice here, right? So maybe I really want that contract. I can pay the $5 and I move it over and it goes into the highest column available, which happens to be the tippy top. I mean, in this case, I can't do it. But in this case, it would go in the second spot. And then you have to use that die immediately as if it was always there. So in this case, I'd pay the $5. That's company money, by the way. and it would go over to here, and I would get to take this contract and then load 3 times. Okay, so that's how that little mechanism works. Now, one thing I want to point out now is if I have tokens on all 4 spots here, that $5 fee turns into $0. It's now free if I have all 4 tokens. That's what this means. Here, if I deliver 1 passenger, I get to take a passenger token and put it in one of these 3 spots. This one lets me always load one more than whatever the dice says. This one, I think, this one lets me draw from this section here, and we'll look that up real quick. But I believe it lets us draw from either of these contracts. So instead of taking the contract that's out here, I can take this one or that one. That's what this one does. And then this one changes the fee to $2 instead of $5. So this is slightly better, but this also reduces the cost. This here is 3 movement actions, and it's boat or channel. It's universal. This one, we already know what that one does. This one says I can take any 2 dice. I can take a 2 from the warehouse or from a contract and load it on a boat. So it's a free load boat action. This one is I can take a 2 from the warehouse and put it on the train, or I can take something that's already on the train and increase the pip value by 2. Because remember, the higher the pip value, the more chance you're going to get of getting the token you want, which in our case is important. Okay, so we get to go first. I would tell you that the movement actions are more important when you have loaded ships. And this ship is ready to take off. And you're allowed to move someone else's ship as long as it's ready to take off. So as much as somebody wants to have something sit here and wait, that doesn't. That's not the way it works. You're allowed to load someone else's ship, and you're allowed to take that ship and move it through the chain. So you don't need the player's permission at all. So these movement dice are not going to be bad. We're going to need it to move all of our stuff. But as you can see, I have one ship here that I can't move. It is in the EU, and unfortunately, the only EU one is here. But I could take this die. Now, I got to be careful with shaking. This die would get me just a 2, though. So a 2 would be enough to move this through. It would also let me put it on the cruise ship. I don't need cruise ship stuff, but I could still piggyback on, no problem. Or I can just try to, okay, let's not obsess so much over the EU stuff. I could take one of these and flip it over, and this lets me do, because there's 3 of them here, I can load 2 things, one of them on a train, and I can make this an EU thing and then put a 3 out here for getting the EU token that way, which is something we've talked about before. So that's another option I can do. And then of course I can just try to move the stuff that's there. And I know we haven't gotten into all the movement rules yet, but I'm very much heavily leaning towards I want to get another contract going because my ships are sort of stuck. I mean, this one I can move, but I want to be able to move that one as well. Okay, so let's think about this. The idea of taking the contract and flipping it is not a bad one. Again, I would like this, but getting 2 3s is not bad either. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So that does let me grab 2 dice here and set them to 3 each. I am going to take this example here and put it on the train. So I get a 3 there. And this doesn't really happen until the end of the round. But I got a 3 out there ready to rock and roll. The next 3, of course, is here for my... And this contract, by the way, is there. I like to put it out here because... now, which dice am I taking? I'm going to take the executive one because why not? And that lets me do 3 loads. This one would just let me do 1 load, and I have 2 to load. So now I'm going to load this one, and I'm going to do exactly what I said. I'm going to put it on my other ship. So now I have all my ships loaded, or somebody else's ship loaded, but all my cargo's loaded. And then look here, this is cargo. At least in round one, I need to deliver, or otherwise it costs me $5. I've just unloaded my whole warehouse. I have dice over here that's $0. I'm more than welcome to take dice from here and deliver those as well. At the end of the round, they will all move over to the warehouse. So think of them as dice that you must deliver at the end of round two. If I want to load more ships, I can. But right now, I've successfully loaded all four of my dice. They haven't been delivered yet, but they're at least loaded. I'm not going to owe $5 at the end of the round. Now, with them sitting here, I'm going to owe $4. So I'm not out of the woods. And then here it's $3. And then as I progress them closer to the finish line, then the price, changes. It fluctuates. Okay, so I know that was really long-winded, but that's the red player's turn. And this card gets filled in like so, and then this one comes over. And then we keep going. So then we go to player two, the green player. And they're trying to do cruise ships. And remember, they were a little frustrated. They have all their dice lined up here. There is a cruise ship waiting, plus another one. But they're going to take the executive die here because they really want, I know we want the EU thing, but they want this too. And so they're going to take a die, set it to 2, and they're going to load it on this cruise ship right here. And this cruise ship can take off. It's already got enough. So can that ship. This one, not yet. So they get an EU token for that. Oh, hold on. This has to go on the EU side. Ooh, hold on. They could load it over here. Or they could do that. They'll load it over here. And it's still the same principle. That ship's ready to take off. It just, remember, these ships are neutral. So just because the black die is on there. But it does mean, though, that since the black die was on there first, when they're choosing tokens, he gets to choose before green. Because he's further to the left. So that's a little problematic. But they get an EU token for that. And then you could put these any way you like. Like we could keep piles to show how many of a particular country was taken. And let's grab an EU. And then you can see green doesn't have anything there. So they didn't do the executive action up here. They just did this one. But that was a really good one. Okay, so now we move to the black player. They also want to do cruise ships. And this cruise ship is not full. It does require EU, though, and there is an EU card here with a 2. Except no dice are available. So they would either have to pay $5 to move one of these, like this die, over, which they would get, the contract plus 3 loads. But it would cost their company $5. The company does have $5 to spend. It could do that, or you can see there's a cruise ship possibility here or there at east or west. So if you look here, the west has a cruise ship. But to be honest, this is probably more ideal for them. That's a large cost, $5, to be honest. But they're going to do it. So they're going to spend the $5. And the dice, we just need to find a centralized place to put them. I mean, I like putting them near the player to show, that each player has taken their turn. But yeah, so they're going to do this, and it's a 4-3-2, and it's black. So here you can see we're going to set this to 4, this to 3, and this one to 2. So you can see they're gonna load next year's items, and they can. Because by paying the $5, moving this over, they get to do 3 loads and take that contract. So we do have to pay the $5. And now they're going to load in the EU. So this 2 is for sure going to go there. And remember, they have to go to different ships. These other 2 ships are totally full. So now what's he going to do? He has 2 more ships that he needs to load onto. Oh my gosh, he may not even be able to load them. Well, we have $12. Oh my gosh. So he can buy a 3 size ship and a 2 size ship. This is not good for black because he bought a share of someone else's stock. um, so he's going to go ahead and put the 3 on the single ship, and then the 4 on the big ship. And the problem is he needs some help on this one because he's already spent 3 dice. So, anyways, we got another EU contract finished, another EU token earned, and then it goes here, and oh, look at this. He can take a 2 and put it on the train. So his dice are just being used like mad. So now he's got another die. He'll put that on the train. Okay. I'm not sure. I think his. I don't know if he made the good move here, but yeah, we'll go with it. All that because he wants to do cruise ships, right? So now we got the yellow player. Remember, they want their company to be worth a lot of money. They're looking at their situation, and they're a little shocked that somebody paid $5 to move a die over, but it makes sense. Now they're looking at the situation, and you can see here they've been loading up on China, and this China is perfect. And now they're realizing, oh my gosh, they may want to do the same thing. Um, there's no China's coming, so if they want an opportunity to load up on China, this is the time. Now, one thing I will tell you is this pays double, but only to one of your dice. So if you have like 4 5s all from the same company, this one will pay $10. The other ones are going to just pay face value. All right, so yellow. I think they're realizing, you know what, we need to get our ship to the end to earn this card. Because technically speaking, black could have stolen this card from them. This takes a lake and 2 channels. So you need at least 2 channels, and so they're going to take this 2 die here, and that's going to be their action. So what you do is you set this to 2 and this to 2. 2 because of this, 2 because of that. And then you move ships. So this one is going to use 1 lake action. And then this one is going to use 1, 2 channel actions. Okay? And so now they've delivered. So a couple things happen. First thing, he gets $3. The company gets $3. So 1, 2, 3 goes to the company. And then this die goes into this pool here. Alright. This ship goes into the general pool. So if somebody wants to make it a West or a China, it's available for both. So it's just, that's what this section means. And because it finished, see how it says the cards? So technically, you get the cards and you pay out your pips. It's a size 1 ship, so you can see there's a size 1 symbol. So you get a choice. You can take this card, or you can take $2. That's what this is saying. You can draw. Well, this is saying a size 1 ship can take the top of that card, or this option is you could just take $2. And that's personal money, because see how it's a person? So you can take $2 of personal money. And so it's a nice way, like if you're not interested in these cards anymore, you can just start racking up personal money, which is your victory points, by the way. But this card is so valuable, they're going to take this one. So what this is on any future turn, not the turn that you earn it, they can play this card and get 5 free wild card movement points. Any combination of one or the other. Very, very valuable. Okay, now they still have 1 movement point left, and you might be thinking, well, they don't have to do anything now. Contraire, mon frere. They always have to move something. And so it's a lake movement, which means that they could move this one. And remember, you can move other players' stuff. But they're going to do something that is another rule we haven't explained yet. They're going to move a military ship. So it costs a lake action to put this military ship into the lock, like so. And just so you know, this is divided up in a way that if you take a... so this one has 3 pips on it, and then you take a 4th pip, that fills up the whole lock. I know it's... I think the implementation here is a little wonky, but this is supposed to be 4 sizes. It looks like you could fit a size 2 ship on here, but that is not how it's supposed to work. It's supposed to be 4 spots. Now, what happens if this ship's here and you want to move this guy? Well, what happens is you pay 1 movement point to move him into here, and it automatically pushes that ship for free. So that's part of the game is you start getting into this pushing strategy. So we're going to put this military ship here because then we get to push it for free. Now, the military ship, if you move with it, not when you push it, but if you move with it, you get money equal to the number of tokens you have. So we have 1, and this is personal money. So I get $1, or yellow gets $1 for doing that. Ideally, you would like to put your own ships in and then have the military ship doing the pushing, because then every time you move that ship, you can score some money. Now, on your turn, you might be thinking, well, what if I moved all 4 military ships? You only get to pick 1 military ship to pay you. So even if you moved all 4, you're only going to get paid for 1. Okay, so we got that done. Now, why would I do that? Well, partly because I would rather move a military ship as a yellow player than help another player deliver their cargo. So that's where some of this gets a little interesting. Now, the EU thing is shaping up really nicely. The red player is going to go next, and you're going to see that our decision is very simple. So, yes, we get to the red player, and as much as we would like to do another contract, we actually do want to get going with the movement, because we have these ships here with our dice on it, and we want to load them in here first. By loading them in here first, we're forcing the black player to, when he does his movement to load his dice, he's going to push our ships along. Now, once you get into the lake, you're stuck again. You got to get into the queue to get pushed again, but it's still a good thing to do. So, also, we have all the dice loaded that we need, so we don't necessarily need a contract. So let's get some movement going, and we could do the 3-channel. And 1 lake. The problem is I want to do lake twice. So I'm going to do the 2-channel and 3 lake movement. Alright, so for lake 1, we're going to put this in. And then lake 2, we're going to put this in. And that fills up the whole lock. The next ship that goes in is going to push these. Right, so that's 2 lakes. And then for the 3rd lake, I'm actually going to use the strategy I was just telling you about. I'm going to use the military ship and put it in, and that's going to push these to here. And the military ship goes in, and then we get paid $1 for that. Then we have 2 channels, so I'm going to go ahead and pick 1 channel to move this ship to here. And then the other channel, I'm going to move the military ship again. I don't get paid twice, but it pushes these 1 step further, like so. And then we're done. Okay, green player. Gotta look at their situation. They definitely want to get some contracts still. This one has to go on the train. So, does it have to go on the train? I always forget. I think it does. So, the red dice with 5 pips and 2 pips must be loaded in the China loading zone. If the player wants to load the green ship, he must move it. Da da da. The 1 pip die has a gold rail symbol showing that the die can only be loaded in the wagon on the train table. Yeah, so you have to load this one here. which there's two dice already. I mean, you could load a third. The whole reason you would do that is to get a US West token. It already has one. Could use it to buy a share, which they haven't done yet. Um, it's not a horrible idea. There's three dice here. It would work. And then getting a token out here is not horrible. However, green has one more die they need to load, and they'd like to get their ships moving. And US East, though, is, see, this is US West. So they could flip this over. That 3 would not work on a cruise ship, but it would work on this. And I think that's what they're going to have to do. So, which one do they want? I mean, obviously this one would work. How badly do they want to train out here is the question. They do get to buy a share. I think they more badly want to move these ships. So, yeah, they're going to take this die. And we're going to flip it over and make it a 3. And in doing so, we're going to load our ship. And you could do this because this was 2 different rounds or turns that you can only load the ship once per turn. But we're allowed to load a ship with all of our goods like this. So, alright, that is done. Obviously, that did not get fulfilled contract-wise. But yes, that's where we're at. Okay, their turn is over. It felt very uneventful. Okay, black turn. So black understands the situation. They have 3 dice or 3 ships they need to move. Green is probably not going to help them. So yes, black wants to get some movement going, and they're going to choose the. They could choose the executive and get 3 and 3. In fact, they will. So they're going to go ahead and do that, and they're going to get 3 and 3. First things up. Oh no, this one needs to load more stuff, but ooh, I forgot to do this. EU doesn't even have a contract. They could take one of these and load this die, so that way they have all 3 ships ready to go. It's a little risky. They need company money bad. It doesn't matter which one they take. Okay, they'll take this one, and they're going to use it the flipped over side. So they're going to grab a 3. And load it on here. So now all 3 ships can go. It's really delayed because you only have so many actions per round. So now they got to get all those ships pushed all the way through. This is going to be a problem for them. Okay, so that's done for them. Now we go to gold. They get to do an action. And you can see this ship's not ready to take off. And then these 2 are ready to load. That was the whole reason why we started loading ships here, right? Is now this one unloaded, and now they get to load some more. So we got a contract. Whoops, I don't know what just happened there. This contract comes out. This is China. This is a great China one. China number 1. The problem is there's no dice there. So they would have to pay $5. Gold really doesn't want to do that. But they got to get their dice loaded and they got to get these ships going. So the China is what they need. So, gosh. Alright, yeah, this one, I guess, is going to go here for $5. And I'm doing this twice. I I swear to you, I this is not a good move most of the time. Okay, so we got a 5 and a 2 and a 1. Now the 1 has to go on the train. And they don't have a problem with that. They can just plop it right there. And then the 5, so this needs to be 5 to 11. Remember, the second die here, um, it just paid face value, but they need it to equal 9. So they're going to put the 5 up here. So now this ship can take off, and the 2 there, they're not going to load this one. And just leave that ship there for now. And so yes, the China is fulfilled, and they get a China token. And then here you can see they can load a 2 onto the train or do a +2. And in this case, I mean, if they really needed to get a die out of here, they could load a second die. Sorry, I'm coming down with a cold, but they're gonna change it to a 3. Okay, this is getting precarious, but I believe everybody gets 4 actions per round. No, hold on, there's 16 dice. Yeah, 4 actions per round. 2 of them have already been spent. Okay, so red player is up. Red needs to get their stuff delivered. So we're going to go movement, movement, movement. And this guy here is the perfect die to take, because we're going to get 3 and 3. Boom. And so first one is we're going to move the military ship, which is going to put both of these into the lake. That cost a channel to do, and we get a buck. Alright, so now we got these two. And see, the red's got a double dilemma, because this ship needs to go this way. But we're going to keep going, and this is going to benefit green, but it's going to cost a lake action to bring this ship into here. So that's one lake action. Then we're going to do another lake action to move this one. And then what that does is that moves this ship here. And that one there. And this one there. Right? And so this is a lake action again if I want to move this guy, and I will. So that's spending my last 8 lake action. And that's going to push both of these into the lake. And then this one's going to sit there. Now, I have 2 channel actions, which this requires lake and that requires lake. And so I have to do channel movements. So I can, for example, move China. I can't even move this one. I can move this one. So I will do that for one, and this for the other. You have to always spend your movement. I'm not sure that was the most efficient way to play my turn, but we'll go ahead and do that. Okay, getting over here to the green player. Contract comes out. This should have been spent. It was by him. Okay, so everybody's got all their dice loaded. So now green just needs to get into the queue. And getting into the queue before the yellow player actually helps them. So they're going to go ahead and do this one, because they want the 3 lake actions. They don't want the 1 lake action. So they're going to take the 3 lake actions. You'll see why in a second. So it's 3 lake and 1 channel. So the first lake action, of course, is this one. Second one is this one. So now they're into this. So there's 2 of the lake. But the third one is they want to get into here because they know red's pushing. And now they're going to get pushed by red all the way to the finish. So they don't have to spend any more movement points on this guy. Unless red has got some weird desire to not push that ship. It will cost them $2 at the end of the round. Red could sit here in the lake and only cost them $1 for each pip. Not pip, but die. ideally you don't want to be paying anything. So they're going to bank on the fact that red's going to push them. And so by spending that last lake, they got into here before red did, and so now they're going to get pushed. Just like they got into here before yellow did, so yellow's going to push them. Now, they still have to spend everything. Like we said, they got one channel left. There's really not a lot of channel stuff left except for here, and they do move as a group. I don't know if I mentioned that. So both of these will move as one group for that once they're grouped up. Now, when you're back in the lake, they separate again. Okay, so their turn's over. They got one turn left, and the chances of them getting all the way to the end are very low. So we got the black player now, and they're looking at the situation, and you can see there's still some contracts left. They got a die that needs to get to the end. Uh, they might want to push this to the end. They got these they need to get into the queue. Holy crap, they need a lot of movement, and they don't have enough. But they are going to gun for this card right here. So they're going to take this action. So what that gives them is 3 channel and 1 lake. So they're going to load here for the lake, and then 1, 2, 3 for the channel. Now, that may seem like really aggressive, but it's the right move here, because that lets them draw this card, and now they just got 4 more movement points that they can use later. They know nobody's going to push them, right? Because they're the last one to go into the chain here. This is going to pay their company $3, which they desperately need. And this goes back here. And then, like I said, the ship gave them the card. It was a size 1 ship. So they got the 4 movement points, and that's good for them. Okay, now we move to yellow. Similar dilemma. They're being the pusher. They need lots of movement. They do have it. So they don't want to use that yet. They're going to take the movement action that's available to them, which is a 3 and a 2. So first thing they're going to do is push this one in, or put that one in for 1. And then this one they're going to put in for 2. And what that does is it pushes both of these into the lake and this one to there. Okay, then they're going to do a channel 1 to move this, which is going to push that one into the lake. And you can always rearrange them. The order doesn't matter out here. And then they can do a channel again to get this one into the lake. They're out of lake movement, so they can't move these anymore. So we're looking around. They got to spend 1 more channel. And they must always spend it. So they're either moving this one. Those are only 2. So they could try to help black and red, but they know that green's going to get pushed already. So they're going to go ahead and move green, because that screws everybody, including green in a way. But just in a way. And so yeah, that's their turn. It's over. And so now we move to the red player. This is our final action. And it worked out perfectly for us. We're going to get to grab the final move, which is 3 and 3. And we do have a problem. This guy is just sitting here. He will get pushed by these 2 players, but only into this lake. We'll pay $1. Because that guy's not going to get done. Now, I could aggressively do this and get a movement card. But remember, you can only play the movement card the next turn. Now, I do think that there is a rule about, like, when you're between rounds, you can use those movement cards. Give me a second, because I seem to remember that. Let's see. That's when you arrive. Cruise ships, military ships. Where the heck are those cards described? You know what? It might be described here. Yep, there they are. Player can only use a bonus card that was earned in previous turns. A player can always opt to receive money instead. You can only hold one captain card. If you already have one, you have to collect money. At the end of the game, all captain cards are discarded. They have no value. Okay, yeah. So I thought you could play this as like part of the bonus, and maybe it's in an FAQ somewhere, but I don't think. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, this is part of your action, so you can play it, but it has to be earned in the previous turn. Okay. So the red player can get the 4 movement, but it's our it's our last action, so I won't be able to use it before the round ends. Now I would like to get out of here. Like I said, if they push me, I'm gonna just pay $1. Now I can get it all the way to the end and get the 4 movement and just use it for the next round because I gotta move stuff next round too. But then I gotta really do some math here because right now I'm gonna pay $1 because I know for sure they'll probably push me out. But let's say I do the 3 and 3, which I have. This would be 1, 2 of those, and all 3 of those to get this to the end. Yes, I'll get $3. I'll get this card, and then I'll have 1 lake action left, which I can use to put this into that queue, and then I'd be done. And assuming nobody pushes me, I'm going to owe $2. So I think that's worse. Although if I put this into here, I could argue that black will push me. Because what else? Oh no, black's got all this. Now maybe they can get all the way through and then push us out. I don't know. We do know they have 4 movement points, so they're going to for sure be able to go 1, 2, 3, 4. But they got another problem. The only dice left are on this side. And they don't have 5 company dollars to move the dice over. They have 4 company dollars. So they have no movement left. So right now, black is in a lot of trouble. In fact, I didn't even realize how much trouble they were in until now. So that player is very much saying, I can't believe you like this game. And they're feeling like there's nothing they can do to help themselves because they already paid $5 once to move something over, and they don't have another $5 to do it again. And here they're going to lose $12. Well, 4, 8, 12, 16. They're going to lose $20 because all these dice are stuck here. Black is in a load of trouble. So, what do I do as red? I now realize I can't rely on them to push me. So I'm going to go ahead and do this one, which is a channel. And this is actually going to help black. They're going to get out of trouble. So we're going to do a lake and another lake. And then channel to push these two, which pushes green out. And you got to be really careful because this just changed. Now I know why the automated one uses other stuff, because the dice just changed. I'm pretty sure that was a 3. I thought this was also a 3, maybe even higher. Yeah, I think they were both. Well, shoot, we should have kept contracts. 4, 3, 2. All right, I'm gonna have to be very careful when I move these. Okay, so green finished. So green is gonna get this. And their ship goes here. Their die goes there, and they get $1, $2, $3. All right, and then we're going to spend one more channel action, push us to 0, and that's going to move us here, and now we got a lot of finishing, but it's in order. So for this ship here, it's a size 2 ship. We're going to get $7 for our company. And obviously this goes here, and the 2 dice go into here. We get to draw a size 2 card. which is this one, or we can take $3. This is useful earlier in the game. What this is saying is if I ever have to pay maintenance, I only have to pay half. So in a situation where black is stuck here, they would only owe $10 instead of 20. Um, so it could be helpful to them. But here's where black's going to get bailed out. So we're going to get our $3 for the next one, and black is going to get $3, which puts them over the 5 that they need. Although they're in trouble in other ways because their company needs to be able to pay dividends. Um, so we do that, and this one comes back. And now one of the problems we have is all these dice are going to move here. So that means we're going to have to ship all these next round. Now, this is a black ship that's size 2 that finished, so they're going to get that card that lets them pay half maintenance, which they do very much need. Okay, so they got a lot of help from us, but we helped ourselves more than we helped them. So, although you could argue losing $20 was a big deal, I guess we could have hammered them. But I talk about this every time we play stock games, like 18xx games. Some guy even got really heated with me about it. Is I said that you never get into these wars with other people. It's just not a winning strategy, and a lot of people like 18xx games because you can really just dick someone else. The problem is there's 4 players in the game. So if you go to war with another player, both of you go down, and then the other 2 stay strong. Because you're not hurting everybody, you're only hurting one player. And yeah, maybe that player is winning the game at the moment, but you're hurting yourself at the same time. Because you're not doing a move that's ideal for you and your company. So you're not allowing yourself to catch or get ahead of everybody else. So it's really I mean, there's a lot of math and scenarios. I'm sure somebody can concoct some kind of scenario where hurting someone else is actually to your benefit. But in a 4-player game or in 18OE, that's a 6-player game potentially. Everybody else wins when you and somebody else go to war. So, anyways, I just think that was the best move, although we got other problems coming. Okay, so we're done with our 4 actions. Green's up. And green's situation is they once again get to go into the queue before yellow. But they need movement, and they have none. They do have this. Or they can load contracts, which there are things that can be loaded. I don't know if they want to. And of course they have a die out here, which is going to cost them $4. Yeah, this is just not good for green. Now they could do an executive action and just buy a share of stock. They have $6. They can buy one of their own shares or one of black shares and call it a day. That means they're going to pay $1, $2, $3 for this, and then wherever this one ends up. They could do that. $3 is not the end of the world. They still have the 4 movement that they could use to get into the queue, so they at least get pushed to here. It would cost them 2 movement just to get into the queue. Then they would have 2 more movement, so they could get this into the queue just to help black, because helping black helps themselves in some way. Buying a share of stock is not necessarily the best thing to do. I mean, it does help your company pay off dividends, because your company's going to have to pay these fees. And then they're going to have to pay $3 in dividends to shareholders. Well, there's only 1 share, so they only owe $3. It's not, once you own 2 shares, then they're going to have to pay $6. Or can they just pay the $5 and get a 3 and 3? The dollar's cheap. It's not that large of an expense. If they buy a share, $6 will go in and they'll get $3 of it back. Actually, they're going to get all 6 of it back because they already own a share. Well, what a weird move, but we're going to do it. So we're going to do the executive action. and we're gonna buy a share of our own stock, and that will put greed up to 7. And uh, yeah, they're gonna owe some fees, but I think they're okay with it. They could do this card. This would cost 2 movement to get in here, and then they could even do a third one for that, and then a fourth one, I don't know, to move something else. I mean, they could. I don't know how much it matters. They can put a US West in and just get paid $1. That's if they want to use this right now. By putting them in, it's just going to help them get pushed to here, and this one is going to help get pushed to there. No, they're not going to do it. They're just going to wait. Okay, next up is the black player. And yeah, they were the ones that had the big conundrum. So they're going to spend the $5. They have to. And they're going to do 3 and 3. Alright, so number 1. They got 3 ships that they're moving. So 1, 2, 3 is all spent just doing this. So this is going to push that one. And then that one's just going to join there for the 3. Now they have 2 EU ones, so they would have liked to have put this somewhere, but it's okay. Next, they got 3 channel actions. So this is going to get pushed for 1, and it's going to get pushed again for 2. And then this is the 1 and the 2. So the 2 channel actions puts them there, and then the 3rd channel action, everybody's going to end up in the lake, like so. So now it's just a question of, do they want to spend their 4 movement points to keep pushing? They're currently they went from owing $20 to owing $1, $2, $3, $4, $5. So it would take 3 actions just to go into this queue at $2. They could get to here. Now, if they really wanted, they could do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that takes 6 movement. They only have 4. The black company needs money. They're not going to be able to pay their dividends. And this is the reason why you don't buy someone else's shares. It absolutely is, folks. You bought someone else's shares, and we have the money to buy their shares, but now we have the money to buy our own, and their shares may never get purchased. So their company is just not going to pay dividends. So I did it more for the fact that we're trying things, but it's typically not something I want to do. So, do I want to spend the 4 movement? This would cost 3 movement. I would get to there. Alright, so let's say I did 1, 2, then I pushed with this one. That would be 3, 4. I would push, push. This would just have to sit here. So I'm still paying $1, but I'm a lot closer to the end. Is that worth it? I don't know. You can only have one of these, so it's not like you should hold on to them. Sure, I'll spend this. Now this goes to the bottom. So once we get through the worst cards, that one will pop up again. Alright, so we did 1, 2, 3, 4. By pushing the EU ship, we got $2. like so. That's it for black. Now we got red, who we said was in a bit of trouble, but they do have this 5, and it looks like, oh, I'm sorry, not red, yellow. Green chose not to get in front of them. So yellow's got the same dilemma. Do they pay the $5 or do they load contracts? Loading contracts is not a good idea at this point. Although they could just load onto the train, which again is not super helpful. It just takes one of these dice and put it on a train, and those dice are going to end up right back here. So they will spend the $5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're going to move this over, and they're going to get 3 and 3. So 1, 2. Oh man, I gotta be really careful. I think both of these were 5s. I definitely understand why the other one, even though it's uglier and doesn't have the dice, works better because these are electronic. Everything's electronic. You get what I mean. They're not dice; they're counters. Um, so that was 2. Now I'm doing a channel, which pushes both of these out into the lake. And then this is another lake action to go here, which would make that 3, and then I have 2 channel movements I have to do. And this is a really wild one. There's one channel here. I have no other channels left. Wow, I can't think of the last time I saw this. And see, look, this got bumped somehow. Um, so what happens? So we got the pushing ships. Players must complete the total amount of movement granted by the action. Regardless of ownership, any and all ships that are eligible can be moved in any order. If it's impossible for movement to be expended, the player's turn ends. Check carefully that the movement action cannot be completed. Ooh, your turn would actually end. Well, that would just mean that instead of spending this lake action, we would do... Yellow would do this lake action here. Right? And then there's 2 channel actions, so they can do 1, 2, like that. Right? Because they would have spent a lake action to put this here, so that gave them a lake action to put this in the channel. I retconned this, and then I moved. Because what it's saying is that if you can't do all the movement, your whole turn gets canceled. It's basically like passing. You don't get to move anything at all if you can't do the actual move. Or we could have like moved to like something that was less channels, like over here. But that's the better way, because here they go. They got this 5 card. They're gonna play it. So they're gonna pay the 5 card, and then this is gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Everything is gonna get delivered for yellow. Yellow is very strong right now. So this one would have finished first. They would have gotten $5 for their company. One, two, three, four, five. And then these dice go here. And they would have gotten the top card of this, which I think, yeah, they're going to take that. In the first round, you should always take cards. Don't start sucking up the money until later. Or if you already have a card. And then this one is going to be big bucks for them. They get $10 for this and $5 for that. So they're going to get $15 for their company. But they don't get anything else. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What I mean by they don't get anything else, they don't own this ship, so they don't get to draw cards. Only for the ships that you own. In fact, I'm now realizing yellow. Oh yeah, yellow was the player. Never mind. I keep thinking I'm red when I'm doing this. Okay, so that's the end of the round, and I like to use this as my guide. During the end of the round, we define turn order. So that's pretty simple. It's the maximums first. Well, actually, hold on. Is it the order that is it just FIFO? Give me a second. It's been 10 years. I've played this since then, but da 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 da. The sum of each player's dice in the second wagon, and then move all dice from the second to the third. Yeah, it's just sum. So what's going to happen is it goes like this, and then the order that they were in does preserve this breaker. So yellow goes to second, and green drops to last. So the only thing that stinks is I got to remember this turn order. And then these dice are going to go here, and all this means is red gets to pick a chip first. And you know us, we want the EU. So we're going to take that, and that lets us buy a share. We have $8. We don't have to buy. So we're going to buy one of our own shares, which is $7. So we got ourselves another share, and now we're up to 8. And this is again why the black player is helping us to win. We're going to get best director because our value is higher than everybody else's. Okay, so we're done. Another die we have to deal with. Yellow is next. Yellow doesn't have the constraint of we need all EU. They got 2 Chinas already. They're all the way over here, so they're very likely going to get EU or US East. So if they want to get their third China, now's the time, because it's going to be a while before they grab contracts over here. Or they can go for US West. In both cases, it's a big empty nothing burger. But if they can get a $0 thing, that's more valuable. So they're going to take West. Because they're looking at it, they understand they don't have these two filled in yet, but this is the first step towards getting a $0 instead of paying that punishing $5. That's a big deal. That's more important than finishing this. Okay, so that's yellow choosing. So far it's been very simple. And then black, they got the similar dilemma. They only have $2 and $2. How can they help their company? They can take a third EU, which nope, they can't. It's a China or East. And in both cases, it really is 6 or 1/2 dozen. They're moving towards China, so they're going to take the East one. And then China's the only one left. So then what happens is you just repopulate this as part of the end of the round activities. This goes here, and we just keep going along the thing. So we did that, and now we got to pay cargo fees. So starting with ourselves, we have $1 times not pips but dice. So we owe $1. Now we have a card that says we could pay half, but we're just going to pay the $1 and hold on to that. Then the green player has $1, $2, $3, $4 that they owe. They don't have a card, So yeah, they are going to have to lose $4. Then we go to the black player who has one, two, three, four, $5. Um, I think they will do half. Now, is it round up? Is it round down? Good question. That's what this side's for. Round it up, of course. So they would go from $5 to $3. So this would save them $2. They don't have $3. This is what I meant by they're in trouble in another way. And that trouble is sneaking up on them right now. So, what that is, or what that means, reducing this to $3 doesn't help them. They still can't pay the bill. So they got to take one of these. So this is a $10 influx to the company. Now they owe $5. They have $3 in dividends that they owe as well. But we'll go ahead and just pay the $5 for now and hold on to this. But here's the bigger thing. That $10, it doesn't say so, but at the end of the game, they have to pay $15 out of their player money. This money went to the company, but the player himself is going to owe $15 at the end of the game. And that's basically 15 victory points they just lost. That is a huge, huge problem. I'm playing black horribly. Now, one of the things was they bought somebody else's shares instead of their own, and I think you're seeing some of the problems that creates. The biggest problem is nobody bought their share. Although, you could argue, Red just cranked this thing up to $4 a share, so they're going to get more money out of this than they would have if they owned their own company. That part's true. $1. So I don't know if that was worth it. And then Yellow. Yellow was able to get completely freed up, so they don't owe anything. So there you have it. So then we go to one player gets the minute. Oh, we have to pay dividends. So the red player company has to pay $4 dividends. So we owe $12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This one gets $8. And this guy gets $4. Alright, so they were able to pay. And they're the highest value stock, so this goes to the red player. Now, what this means is that's 3 victory points at the end of the game. It's worth $3. It's not $3 here, but it's going to count as $3 at the end. Okay, so that's done. But we got to now do the green company. 2 shares are owned, and everybody else is paying $3 a share. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then we go to the black company. They only have to pay $1, 2, $3. And then the yellow company is going to have to pay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like so. Alright, so everybody was able to pay dividends, although this one was only able to because of the loan, but it still pays. They were the highest rank, so they win. Now, you might be wondering, well, what happens if they're tied? Because they usually are. I think it says if applicable, meaning that ties means nobody gets it. So that was end of game. Hold on. Take it from the round table, give it to the player. In case of a tie, the company with more money wins. Okay, so somebody does always win. In this case, if black hadn't hadn't purchased from red, I think yellow would have yellow would have taken it. So black just played a little bit of kingmaker here. They hurt themselves. They made red better, and they allowed red to win points that yellow would have otherwise won. So all that happened just because they bought 1 share of somebody else's stock. So Just something to keep in mind. Now, if any of these were unable to pay dividends, then they would have dropped by $2. So boom, boom. Okay, getting back, maintenance of cargo. So all that means is that you would pay this $5 here, and for whatever reason that's separate. No, 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 no. I'm sorry. That's part of the fees. Maintenance of cargo is this. All these dice are now there. So everything that was here, we now have to load and deliver and do all kinds of nonsense. All right, so new round. We're going to take all of our dice. Be careful of the cards. Four dice you need to set aside. Those are the executive dice. All right, so we got ourselves 12 dice here. I'm going to roll them here. I'm just going to hit R. All right, so we got 1, 1, and 1, 2, 3, and then take these 4. And there you have it. There's not a lot of movement. There's a lot of contracts, but not a lot of movement. So now we begin round 2. Red is still first player. So they get to decide what to do here. And, as you know, they want an EU something something, but you can see there's no EU here. Red has just one ship that needs to go somewhere. Remember, they don't have to use their own ships, but they have one that's here. So one of the problems Red has is their ships are like in 2 different places. So we've been using other people's ships to do a lot of the dirty work. We still can. We don't necessarily have to buy these ships. The key difference is these little ships give you more of these cards, and this big ship gives you the scoring, endgame scoring. So it'd be nice to get another one of these, right? And in order to do that, you got to fork out the $7 and buy that large ship. And that means you need to have a large contract. So we got a U.S. East, a big one here, a 5, 2, and 1, which would go over here. And you can see in the U.S. East, there's a cruise and that. Now this one cannot be used for a cruise. That's a train. Or we could do a 4 and 1 and actually get one on a cruise ship. Cruise ships still help us because we could take these bonuses here. Just because we don't have the endgame scoring doesn't mean that cruise ships won't help us. And when you play with players, they will still take cruise ships for that reason. Like being able to only pay $2 instead of 5, because maybe they don't think they're going to get to the 0. Or this one here, which lets you take the contracts that are from these 2 piles in addition to what's out here, could be very, very handy. Now, the problem we have is we have a lot of dice we need to unload. And I can take, well, actually, if I take this one, I can only unload 2 of them. Okay, that's interesting. This one would only let me unload 1, but I can always take the top executive die. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to take the executive die, and we got this 5-2-1 situation. So I'm going to rotate this to a 5, and this one to a 2, and then the 1 has to go on the train, so we will do that. And then the 5 and the 2 need to be loaded up on US East, which is over here. So, interesting thing is I am loading a cruise ship. And then the 5 has to go in one of these ships, or I'm going to buy one. And I'm noticing I just shook the die again. So here's the thing: I could load it on the black ship, but black has no reason to help me unless they somehow want a movement, like one of these cards over here. That's the only reason why black would help me. I could load it on the yellow ship, which I could deliver on my own, but that does give yellow some incentive to join me. And yellow has a similar problem. Their ships are divided amongst two spots. And they also didn't buy ships. So if you notice the trend, the top company did not buy ships. The cool thing about the balance of this game is, okay, you could not buy ships and then you win the top company award. However, you're not getting endgame scoring cards. Um, that's the key difference to this. And red should have a. Oh, here we go. There's their double ship over there. So if I load it on either of these, they move into the U.S. East zone. And in both cases, the ship could move. I don't have to wait for somebody else to load. Or I can just buy a ship, like we were saying, and pay $5 for that, or $7 for this one, and get one of my big guys out so we can get some end-game scoring opportunities. I'm going to spend the $7, and we're going to put our die on there, because we have a lot more dice we need to deal with here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, that was US East. Our turn's over. Now we go to green. Green does have the ships that are everywhere. Green also has some dice they need to start loading. They only have one ship available. They could spend the $7 and load up another ship. They got similar issues, although they need to load cruise ships. So this US East one actually looks perfect for them. So they're going to take that, and they're going to take this one just to screw over other players. And so they got a 4 and a 1. The 1 is going to go onto the cruise ship. And then the 4, they have to load on something else. And red has already got some loading going, so they can just go ahead and piggyback right on red. And so now red has incentive to move both of these ships for green's purposes. Okay, so the next thing green is going to do, and I just realized I forgot a couple of things. We both just did US East, so I need to grab US East tokens. This one lets me buy a share, and this one also lets me buy a share. So let's do one thing at a time here. I can buy my own share at $8, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to go down to $1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Get another share of red. Now green only has $6, but there happens to be a stock worth $6, so they're going to pay it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then black gets a nice surge of money. And yeah, it's not as ideal as owning your own shares, but right now that's what they got to do. And because if you don't buy a share when you take this token, you lose the opportunity. Okay, green's turn's not over. They're going to spend the 4 movement. First thing they're going to do is spend 2 of the movement to do this. And then 1 movement to do that for 3. And then for the 4th one, can they move China? Nope. China's the one they still need. They can move anybody else, military-wise. I don't know if they. I mean, they're going to get $1. I'm just looking into like, is there any way that that would help us? Not really. So I'm going to just spend 1 more movement for them to go here. Okay, so that's their turn. Now we go to black. Again, they have a big delivery ready to go. They also have some dice to load, not as much as others, but they see that they need to do two channel and one of these. So they need at least two channel. There's only one in that row, so they're going to take it. So two channel. Well, actually, hold on. They got this too. Let me think of this through. They would take the 3 and 3 then. So they're going to take the big movement, and they're going to move this one for 1, which pushes this off. And that took a lake. Then this one for 2. Going to take a channel. And then 3 and 4. Ooh. It would have been nice to get this out there, but now they got 1, 2 channels. So 1, 2, both of these are going to finish. The good news is they get one of these cards. This ship is a size 3. And it's worth $7, and then this is worth 3 more. So they just got $10. So the company is in good shape. Now, they get to grab an endgame scoring. And we already grabbed that one. So this one is we get to look at them. Oops, I didn't mean to type. So we got the China. Let's look at their situation. They have 2 EU. Obviously, they're not going to get that one. This is for shares. They only own 2 shares right now. I'm sorry, these are for tokens. They currently have 3 of them, so that would get them $6. That's the one for shares that they only have 2 of. They have enough to afford a third one. US West or US East. They only have one US East. And so right now that would be worth $1, but if they get a second one, it'd be worth $2 each. If they ever get 3 of them, that would be worth $9. I don't know if these are going to... Like, these can pay really well, but certainly right now they do have at least one of those. It's at least a candidate. This one's out. So is that one. So then it becomes, okay, number of shares. They are on the verge of buying a third, which that would be $9. And that's at $6 right now. Which one do they want? Well, they're going to be doing a lot of cruise stuff, so they're going to get their tokens are going to be filling in here more than here. That doesn't mean anything because they could load cruise ships and still get these. I actually am torn, but I think in order to prevent other players from getting a lot of points, they should take this one. And then, of course, this is when they realize that somebody took the other cruise one. Okay, their turn is over. Now we go to yellow. Their ships are on 2 different ends. So really for yellow, it's just they need a lot of dice they got to load. So they're looking for a maximum loadage. US West is over here. This would only be 1 die. They could take this one, which at least lets them load both of them, so they will. And it also prevents somebody else from doing an executive die. So we're going to do 3 and 2. So we got the 3 and the 2. I'm just going to discard... Oops. Going to discard the card because, yeah, they're just getting a US West here. And that's going to go here, which lets them buy a share. Now they have $7. They can buy one of their own shares, and they will. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and they're back to 0. Okay, so we got a 3 and a 2 to load. There is one ship of theirs that they can do. which they would move into the U.S. West, and they could load, for example, the 3, and then the 2 would go on the cruise ship. It has to. Okay, their turn's over. So now it's back to us. We still got a million dice here. Need to load more stuff. We gotta start moving things too. Not always easy to do. We do have China, and West as our choices. All over here. We do have a 2 here, but we would like to keep all of our dice going in one direction instead of 2. I would like to load these. And so I can flip these. So this is, for example, this is a train one. So I can flip it over and then just load a 3 anywhere. It does mean I'm not going to get the symbol. And I could use a China and a West. Like, poo-pooing those is not always a good thing, because getting 4 of these is good. This one is a train, so we wouldn't even be loading our ships. This is a cruise ship, which is not there. Oh no, there is a cruise ship there. Oh, that's the perfect one for us. So we're going to take that one. So we get to grab a 6 and a 2. So the 2 goes on the cruise ship. And then the 6 will go here. That's 11, that's 4, that's 15. I cannot do a 6 there. That's already a 9. This has to be 4 or less. Alright, so now I'm spending $5 for another ship. Or I can use one of theirs, but I'd rather do my own. So I got some dice loaded. It's just, you know. And then we do get a China token. 3 dice left. Should have brought this home. Then I would have had another ship to load over here. I didn't even think about that. Okay. So this comes out. This comes out. Green player has 3 dice left to load. They got a lot of ships they're trying to move. They only have 12 company dollars. They're going to take this one. So what that gives them is 3 and 2. It's going to cost 1 to get into the lake. And then 2, 3 to go there. And then 1, 2 gets them right near the finish line, but not quite. Alright, that was green. Next we got black. See, the thing with this game is like the first round could go really well for you or horrible, but they sort of balances out because like I'm getting hammered and yellow is too with having too many dice in the warehouse at $5 each. And the only way to get rid of these dice is you got to take contracts. Well, then you take a bunch of contracts and then you don't get to move your ships, so they're all sitting out here clogging up the canal. So, black. They got a cruise ship they would like to finish. They do have 4 dice they need to load. All their ships are over here. And the unfortunate... Well, no, they could do this one. That would give them 3 lake movement and only 1. So they need 2 channels. There's no 2-channel dice unless they pay $5 to move one over. I mean, they do have some money again. Ugh. Such an expensive thing. But they're going to do it. They'll pay the $5. Black. Have you not learned your lesson? Nope. So they got 3 and 3. They will spend 1 and 2 to bring this home. Now, we'll take care of this in a second, but they do have to finish their movement, and they have to move other ships. Now, they can do the EU one, which is here, so they'll do that one, and that gives them $2. And they don't have to move anybody else. They could just like so for example, they're going to spend another 1 to just put that in the channel, and then the final 1 to move it through. So they're moving military ships, but yeah, you get the gist. So we got the China, EU. Where's the the west one is still here. He's a little guy. Pegasus. And then they do have 3 more movement, but they're definitely not using that right now. Okay, so how do we pay the cruises? So this is $1 for each pip of their own dice on the ships. Nope. We gotta go to cruise ships. Earns the company the first player who did the final movement, and then respecting turn order. 1 passenger token from the top of the stack, and is placed on one of the benefit spaces, and they're paid an amount of money that's on the token. Okay, yeah. All right. So black was the one that moved it, and technically, if green would have moved it through, according to that rule, green would have been first to choose. I did not realize that, and that might have been a mistake on my part. But black chooses first, then green, then black gets to choose again. So black is going to take the 5, and they got to put it somewhere. Then green, of course, is going to take a 4. We'll figure out where they're going to put it. And then black gets to go again, and they're going to take the 3. So in this case, they get $8. And these 2 are going to count towards victory points. So which ones do they want? Well, they want the one that lets them look at both contracts, for sure. And then the one that reduces the cost to $2, since they seem to like that action a lot. A third one would, of course, go here. And then 4th and 5th ones you just put somewhere off to the side. Alright, now green's got the same thing. They made $4. And they got to decide. Now they're getting close to $0, so they're going to take the contract one. Okay, that was black. Now we go to yellow, who was starting to load some ships and get things going. They have so many dice they need to load. Alright, so looking at the contracts, this one's not even available. This one's a double. US West is here. Yeah, I think that's the one they'll take. So we're going to do US West for a 4 and a 3. The 3 goes onto the train yard. And then the 4, they get the load on a ship. Oh, which one though? Ugh. I guess they can buy their own. And they will. Okay. So, I always forget to do this, but they get a West token. And look at that. That gives them 3 free movement points. So that came just wait when the doctor ordered. So we're going to go ahead and do 1, 2, and then 3, which pushes these to there. Yeah, that works. All right, red player. I think we want to get this delivered before we start moving these in. I need to get 3 more dice out. I mean, I could theoretically put dice on these. Well, hold on. This comes out. Looking at the situation, we have China, China, and West, which is all over here. I mean, I could load something over here. I do need West to get to $0. So maybe that's the thing to do. Because we're running out of dice and we're going to have to do flip-flop, flippity-flops. Um, yeah, oh gosh, that's 3 of my 4 actions right there. This is not good. I think I have to do it though. We're going to do the US West. Because that. So what that does for me is that lets me finish. Well, I get the $0, but this is letting me buy a share, and I don't have enough money to buy a share. Maybe I want to reconsider. I do want to get more of these dice out. These are $5 each. But I think I will need to get. I have some EU contracts coming up, so if somebody else could just buy a contract, the EU start to arrive, and then I have what I need for my endgame goal. Yeah, I think that's the smarter thing. Now I could do. See, I need to get 3 channel movements, and there's only one available. I could pay the $5 to move over. It's starting to get expensive for me now if I do, but that might be the better move. But then I'm making it harder for other people to take contracts. I'm going to do this one. So that gives me 3 of these and 1 of those. So the first one is I'm going to go into the queue. And then I'm going to spend 2 more to get these ships out. So we're going to go ahead and do this one and this one. So that's our 3. And then I have 1 channel action, and I'm going to go ahead and do this one to there. That's it. That's all I get to do. I want more. Alright, green player. They're 1 space away from home. They have some other dice out here. You can see they got more dice they need to contend with. A China is all they need to get to $0, but they got a similar problem. They don't have personal money right now. If you can get this symbol here, or this one, that lets you take dice out of here and automatically load them somewhere. So, like for example, if I can get a US East here, that would help me. Now, obviously, this one I need to do 2. I'm torn. What would this player do? I think they would move home. Because they're going to get some revenue and deliver some ships. So that would get them 1 ocean, or 1 lake and 1 channel. Obviously, to move this was the channel. And they're going to make 4, 8, they're going to make $11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. They got a single ship, which is their color, and a double ship, which is their color. So they're going to get 3 and this. So they get both. And yeah, I mean, I guess I could take $5. That doesn't let me buy a share, so it does get me closer to buying a share. I still think I want the cards. So these dice are done. They were able to deliver 3 of them. And both of these ships are now in the pool up here. And they still have one ocean. Of course, it's at least got one of their dice on it, so they're going to be pushing the ships to get that in. They had to move something. I mean, they could have moved something randomly elsewhere. I totally understand if some of you are suggesting that that was the better move, but they do have one of their dice on there. And they want cruise stuff. They get $5 for every cruise ship that's delivered. So this is their primary goal. So I think that was the right move. Okay, now we go to black. Somehow we have 3 dice, 3 dice, 3 dice, and they only have one. So did I forget to take a... Oh, maybe this is it. There. Okay, black has 4 dice they need to load, and nothing on the board. So they're definitely taking a contract. This one would be a train for China. So which one do they want? China would be good. Actually, this one would let them buy a share. So that would be US West. Can they take a West? They sure can. They're going to take that one, which will give them a West token. And that will let them buy a share. And of course, they're going to buy their own. They learned their lesson. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now you could argue, hey, why not buy red again? It's the last one. And that's going to cause red to pay $6 in dividends versus they're only going to get 4. But getting your own company to be successful is better for other reasons. Because look, they hurt personally because they ran their company poorly. Okay, so that is resolved. We took the West token. Now they got to grab a 4 and get her loaded. Now, this is the one problematic thing because they don't have any. They could just load it on this ship here, which is US West, and so that'll just put it right there, ready to go. Okay, so this card is gone. And then just like we hoped, that card's out, but there's no dice left for it. So I don't know how good that's going to be for us. And you know what? That 6 that was here, that belongs to something else because I think one of these dice should have been over there. This guy should only have 2 dice right now. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 dice left. Who hasn't... Why do we have extra dice suddenly? I don't understand. Oh, no, that's right. So if this guy's going to get his 3rd die, where was this? I don't remember, folks. I think this one was on the 1, but I thought we spent that one. It did say 6 on it. Was it here? I don't think it was. I will put it there. Man, I hate to end the video, but yeah, I'm going to go ahead and end the video and then look to see what the dice situation was and where I screwed up here. So thanks for watching. Stay awesome. I am coming down with a cold, so mentally I could be faltering, and I apologize if I'm boneheading this. But anyways, thanks for watching. Stay awesome.